Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, let's learn.
Mountaintops in a series.
Somehow I wasn't subscribed to the science channel. I loved that channel. Growing up, it was on like channel 103. And the military channel on 101. Awesome documentaries. Let's go. So like the Italian Maginot Line, I think. Mussolini's Iron Tooth Defense. Vallo Alpino. Mysteries of the Abandoned. Let's go. My name's Connor, if you're new. The whole spiel. Original link.
Of long clusters.
Top description.
Punching through tons of snow are rows of menacing conical structures.
I wonder what the point of the spikes are.
This bizarre set of teeth are made of concrete and iron and range in size up to 3 feet tall. They stretch out over the remote mountaintops in a series of long clusters. But why were they built at such a remote location?
Well, I'm sure it's for making troop and armor movement more difficult. I mean, Italy already has fantastic natural defenses in the Adriatic, Mediterranean, and the Alps. I was gonna say something. Oh, right. I just don't know what the point of the spikes are. They kind of make it look cooler.
And what?
But I'm not sure what they add. And I don't know why they didn't just make a little concrete nub if you wanted to make it taller. Also, I wonder if it's easier to blow part of it up and then go over it, or to pile a bunch of stuff near it and then just drive over it. I'm assuming blowing it up would be better.
Could be their strange purpose. A clue as to what these rows of conical spikes are can be found in the valley below. A labyrinth of secret tunnels that stretch deep into the mountain itself lurk behind a hidden entrance built in.
It's like Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit entrance into Smog's
to the side of the valley,
den.
disguised as a rock.
When you look at it, it seems incredibly solid when it blends almost seamlessly into the background. Someone went to an incredible effort to build that here.
Who built this bizarre Alpine engineering? And what was its purpose?
Defense, of course.
The answer lies in the uneasy peace that existed across Western Europe in the 1930s. Shaken by the carnage of World War I, the major European powers started to fortify their borders with elaborate defenses.
I've been to the French
All through Europe,
Maginot Line,
these
part of it.
border defense lines. And this is a reasonable precaution by most European countries that had genuine threats.
Since 1931, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini's engineers had been constructing an ambitious solution to this problem. A line of defenses that aimed to protect Italy over a 1,000-mile front through the Italian Alps, from Ventimiglia on the west coast to Fiume on the east.
So obviously the Alps is the best defense, but if you're Italy, then Hannibal did it once, Napoleon did it another time, and I'm sure they don't take, people's willing to cross the Alps to fight for granted.
It was known as the Vallo Alpino, or Alpine Wall. Not started until 1938, this section of the Alpine Wall faced not a hostile enemy, but Mussolini's closest ally, Adolf Hitler's newly annexed Austria.
Anschluss.
Mussolini was rather distrustful of Hitler because he knew that Hitler had expansionist ideas in Germany and certainly had eyes on Austria. Now, this meant problems for the Italians because they had annexed this one region, the South Tyrol of Austria after 1918. Mussolini, understanding Hitler, knew that Hitler would likely want to demand this territory and could attack Italy and take the Tyrol.
Since
I think of Hitler as like a huge Mussolini fan. And of all the relationships in World War II, it seems like the Italian-German one was one of the most solid ones, so
World
that's
War
a little
I,
surprising.
fast-moving tanks had become one of the most dominant weapons on the battlefield. And Germany were the masters at this type of warfare. How could the Italian Alpine defenses halt Hitler's mechanized army in their tracks?
So the dragon's teeth, or the denti di drago, were wooden poles that were pounded into the ground and then cast cement around them, capped off with an iron pyramid or cone. This creates a barrier for which armored vehicles and troops cannot pass through, and effectively funneling a large armored force into effectively kill zones.
The Italians designed an elaborate network of interconnected bunkers and guns to stop any German advance. And the strategy was called defense in depth. But would it work?
So the idea of having multiple layers of defense is that you'll slow down the momentum of an attack, making it much easier to repel.
Of a
It's a
surprise.
series of strong points. It will stop and delay any enemy advance. This gives the defender time to move up reserves for a counterattack.
Hidden in the side of the mountain is the heavily camouflaged entrance to the Italian secret Alpine fortress.
Sorry, it's difficult for me to think that Germany was this much of a threat to them, but I guess it was constructed prior to the start of World War II, where German-Italian alliances weren't as strong, and so that's fascinating to me. Just the fact that they built this at all is really interesting.
A fortified door to bunker number 20. The door opens up to reveal a network of passages that link secret rooms and machine gun posts. Local guide Ludwig Schupf knows just how dangerous it was.
So we stay here in the machine gun room of the bunker number 20, and here inside were 3 soldiers. The room is outside of the rock. Here is beginning the rock, and here outside of the rock. And the soldiers knows that they were the first people to die.
The bunker was so well camouflaged to give the Italian soldiers the best possible chance of eliminating the enemy before they even had a chance to attack.
They would cover the face of the bunker with rock slurry material. You could not tell that this is not part of a cliff face until you're actually there, and then the guns open up on you.
But
I wonder if it makes sense that, you know, it's kind of a reverse pyramid into the wall here, so that you can swivel the gun a bit to aim at least a little bit. But I wonder if they reinforced behind it the amount that they cut out, so that the area here isn't less protected than like right here, because they're going to be shooting at this area if they see you shooting out of it. And I just wonder if do you know what I mean?
They would cover the face of the bunker with rock slurry material, you could not tell that this is not part of a cliff face until you're actually there, and then the guns open up on you.
But how secure were the bunkers themselves?
The bunkers were built using a vast amount of concrete, up to 13 feet deep in places.
This looks very much like what the section of Maginot Line that we went to looked like. Like right here. There was an iron gate about where like the camera is at right now, and then a few paces back was just the outside, and it looked pretty run down. It wasn't like a touristy area, which I kind of had in my mind, but then you realize the Maginot Line is not one single thing. It's a long, many miles long defenses. And I remember we couldn't go into it, but we made our way up over the top into a grassy sort of field. And I remember these swirling spike barbs sticking up out of the ground everywhere. And I remember thinking, we might step on an old landmine or something like that.
The bunkers were built using a vast amount of concrete, up to 13 feet deep in places.
What they did was they actually built concrete in and amongst the rock units to try and utilize the fact that you've got these strong rocks either side of the pass and act as a natural defense, and then build around that natural defense with some man-made fortifications.
But why did Mussolini think that Hitler would attack here?
Yeah, I know.
On the Austrian side of the border, there is just a mule track, which wouldn't have supported the weight of a tank.
But the Italians were worried that the Germans would construct a road into that region, allowing armored vehicles, tanks, and a large number of troops to pass into the area.
Yes,
Don't
it's
treat it
quite
like the
possible the
Ardennes.
Germans could send troops up here, because that is in fact how they broke through mountain defense lines.
But were these fortifications ever used?
With the fall of Mussolini and the advance of the Germans, the Vallo Alpino defensive structures were never actually used. The Italians just surrendered, and effectively the Germans walked into northern Italy.
The Vallo Alpino was actually, for the most part, very lightly guarded, and this would have been essentially border troops. These are not your frontline troops, so it provided no real defense at all.
The defending soldiers
I need to learn more. I'll say it after
just
it's
gave
almost
up.
done
No
here.
real defense at all.
The defending soldiers just gave up. And even though there was these very elaborate defensive structures that were constructed, in essence, they were never used and were useless.
Ironically, the Germans incorporated the Vallo Alpino into their own defenses against the Allies, who were sweeping through Italy.
Makes sense.
But in the end, these extensive Alpine fortifications were never used.
Because they had already, gone, Soviets from the East and the Americans and the other allies, Canadians, French, British troops from the West to conquer Berlin. They didn't have to go up all the way through Italy, right? I wanted to say, a great video. Very interesting. Just the concept itself really is interesting, more so than even, the engineering behind these things. The fact that Mussolini thought that Germany was, and Adolf was that much of a threat. Because I always imagine Hitler really admiring Mussolini. And so I always assumed that since Mussolini was in power, that those two would, he was in power before Hitler was, so that they just had a warm relationship, but clearly not. I would love to learn more about Italy during World War II, because not necessarily the troop movements, but just the atmosphere. And the reason I don't really blame the border guards for just surrendering is because you already had so much whiplash as Italy, and we're against them, and now we're with them, and then we're against them. And you have Mussolini who's thrown out, and another government comes in, and then Mussolini's rescued by the Germans, and I feel like as an Italian soldier, you would never really know if you're going to switch again. I don't know if that's exaggerated or not. But just what's going on in Italy through World War II, I feel like it's neglected for sure, and I guess that's part of the reason why I don't know that much about it. But I'd like to learn more for sure. Interesting video. Love you all. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye.